Hey, hello Bio. We are continuing on with section 3 today, and we are going to look at our next era. So we just finished up our last video with the Paleozoic era and the fact that it ended in a mass extinction. So now we're going to get to our next one, which is the Mesozoic era, and we can remember that Meso comes kind of second in the eras because Meso means middle, so this is our middle one. And so we're going to look at what are the major characteristics of the Mesozoic era. So during the Mesozoic era, dinosaurs became dominant. So this is everyone's favorite one to learn about because this is when our dinosaurs first came around, and this is when they really took over. And it was also marked by the appearance of flowering plants. So up to this point, we didn't have any flowers or any plants that had flowers on it. And the Mesozoic era is often called the Age of the Reptiles because of the fact that all dinosaurs are pretty much gigantic dinosaurs, and they really took over during this time. So our first period within our Mesozoic era is the Triassic period, and so organisms that survived the Permian mass extinction became the main life forms early in the Triassic. So not all life ended in the mass extinction, just said like 95% of it up in the oceans. So if you survived the Permian mass extinction, you survived to live in the Triassic period, and the ones that became dominant included fish, insects, reptiles, and cone-bearing plants. So these were our during the Triassic, are types of life that were around fish, insects, reptiles, and cone-bearing plants. And so after Triassic came probably the most recognizable period, and this is the Jurassic period. And then dinosaurs became the dominant animals on land during this period, and hence the name Jurassic Park with the movie about our dinosaurs. So Jurassic period is when dinosaurs became the dominant animals on land. Then also one of our first birds, which it actually might be closer to kind of a relative of the dinosaurs as well, called Archaeopteryx. So that is how you pronounce that word, is Archaeopteryx, and it appeared. And many paleontologists now today think that birds are very close relatives of dinosaurs. So we talk about this a little bit in biology too as well. The scientists do not know exactly if birds and dinosaurs are directly related. There's pretty strong evidence that there is, but there's a lot of different theories about the origin of birds, and this is just one saying that they are close relatives to the dinosaurs. And so after Jurassic, we had the Cretaceous period, and so during the Cretaceous period, the dominant animals included reptiles, obviously with the dinosaurs, and then there was also birds, turtles, crocodiles. So again, those are with the birds being being relatives of the reptiles. Turtles are reptiles, crocodiles are reptiles, and then there's a lot of fish around, and there's a lot of marine invertebrates, which are just invertebrates that lived in the ocean. And then new forms of plant life included leafy trees, shrubs, and small flowering plants, so these all came along during this time period. However, at the end of this time period, history repeated itself a little bit because it ended with another mass extinction. So this is what wiped out all the dinosaurs from the face of the earth, or a majority of them. And so then more than half of all the plant and animal groups were wiped out, including all of the dinosaurs. So all of our large animals, which at that time were the dinosaurs, were wiped out. And then however, this is not all bad because we probably wouldn't be here today if it didn't happen, because this brought in our next era, the Cenozoic era. So we're going to look at what are the main characteristics of the Cenozoic era, and this is the one that we are currently in today. And so during the Cenozoic, mammals evolved adaptations that allowed them to live in various environments. So big key being here, mammals. So mammals were around when the dinosaurs were around. They were just very small, and they kind of had to live underground most of the time, because if they ever showed themselves, they probably would have been eaten by the bigger, faster, stronger dinosaurs. However, during the Cenozoic, since there was no dinosaurs around, the mammals took over. They can live on land, they could live in water, and they could even live in the air. If you've ever seen a bat flying around, those are our winged mammals. Bats are not birds, they are actually mammals. And then kind of going along with this theme, the Cenozoic is often called the Age of the Mammals, and the Cenozoic is divided into two periods. The Tertiary is how you pronounce that word, Tertiary and Quaternary. So Tertiary and Quaternary period make up our Cenozoic era. So during the Tertiary, the climate was generally warm and mild, so not a lot of snow or anything going on during this time, pretty warm and mild. And marine mammals such as whales and dolphins evolved. So then our first mammals that live in the ocean. If you didn't know, now you do, that whales and dolphins are actually mammals. And then grasses evolved, which provided food for our grazing mammals. So like things like what gave rise to our modern cows and our buffalo and our deer and our antelope and things like that. So grasses came along to provide food for the ancestors of those mammals. And then some mammals became very large, as did some birds during this period. So Tertiary period was a good period for the mammals. A lot of food for them to eat, a lot of them developed, nice warm climate. However, during the Quaternary period, Earth's climate cooled drastically and it caused a series of ice ages. So when we watch the movie Ice Age, this is usually the period it's going to be occurring in, is the Quaternary period. And about 20,000 years ago, Earth's climate began to warm again and sea levels began to rise. So during the Ice Age, a lot of the water was frozen up. The oceans were not very high, so and all that ice melted, our sea levels began to rise. And then in the oceans, things like algae, coral, mollusks, so that is things like clams, and like with our little shells like an oyster, fishes and mammals, they all thrived. And then insects, birds, and land mammals were common, and that's kind of what we have today as well around here, is our is the insects, birds, and land mammals. So that's the Quaternary period. And this is the period we are currently in today, is the Quaternary. And then our fossil record suggests that early ancestors of our species appeared about 4.5 million years ago. So the early ancestors of humans appeared about 4.5 million years ago. And then so the first fossils of Homo sapien, which is our scientific name of humans right there, is Homo sapiens, and they may have appeared as early as 200,000 years ago in Africa. And according to one hypothesis, members of our species migrated from Africa and ultimately colonized the world. So early humans came along during this time period, and it was about 200,000 years ago that they think. Again, the fossil record is constantly changing, and it will be different. Probably within 5 years, we'll probably have different results than what we do now. So that is it for Section 3. Let me know if you have any questions.